What's happening, everybody? Happy Thursday. Welcome to another week in the NFL, and welcome to another episode of Facemask Fantasy. Appreciate you guys coming in, hanging out before this riveting matchup we have tonight between the Bears and the Panthers. Uh, Without looking at all the other matchups off the top of my head, this has got to be the most uninspiring Thursday night game of the season so far. Not a ton of fantasy intrigue here. There's a couple of factors here. Uh, but on the whole, there's not a ton of intrigue. If you've got start sit questions pertaining to tonight's game, we can of course go through those. Um, but there's not a ton to get excited about tonight. Justin Fields is still being listed as doubtful by the Chicago Bears. I don't know what game they are playing. Matt Eberflus went back and forth in his press conference yesterday saying that Justin Fields would be out, but they're listing him doubtful because they want to wait a day, but he's not going to play because he's not ready. But they haven't ultimately ruled him out yet because they want to give it until I guess today to ultimately make a determination. But then he said multiple times that he was ultimately not going to play. You just look stupid with this type of nonsense. This is big time Arthur Smith vibes from Matt Eberflus, the boob head coaches of the NFL. So Fields is not going to play. We're going to, I guess, see him week 11, presumably. So that downgrades the entire offense. I guess Donta Foreman is in the RB2 conversation simply because he's been getting the work over Roschon Johnson, and Khalil Herbert is going to miss another game tonight. And on top of that, the Panthers are one of the most gettable, beatable matchups for running backs this year. Carolina's getting crushed by opposing running backs, so Foreman is on the RB2. Ideally, more like the flex radar. Not that you should put him in your flex because he's playing on Thursday, but from the from the perspective of rankings and all that. Roschon is a desperation play. Hopefully, you don't have to go that route. But Foreman is fine to fire up. DJ Moore probably also still needs to be in lineups, even though it's a lot left to be desired with Bagent as the quarterback instead of Fields. But it's not a scary matchup. Carolina can be had by pretty much any skill position player these days. They're not a good defense. Brian Burns is going to be out, so their best player on defense remains unavailable. So Moore should be okay at home in a beatable matchup. He's a wide receiver 2 this week. You're hoping he can come through with some volume. Bagent has been targeting him frequently. It's just a matter of how effective those targets are. On the other side, you're still not starting Bryce Young even in super flex formats. There's just not enough confidence there right now as he continues to take his lumps. Adam Thielen can be fired up as a top 15-ish option at wide receiver, maybe closer to top 12. Nothing scary about this matchup for Thielen, and he is the only one doing anything of note in this Panthers offense. So he can be fired up as a top 15 option. He's got top 12-ish upside. After that, it's gross. Even though it's a good matchup for the Panthers running backs, I don't trust either one of them. I don't trust Chuba Hubbard. I don't trust Miles Sanders. I guess they'll split the work. Hubbard has officially taken the starting job, but Miles Sanders got involved last week. received 9 total touches, 6 carries, three catches on 5 targets. So he is the backup now, but he eats enough into Chuba's work where good luck trying to figure out who's going to be a more effective option to work with. They are Chuba's a boring RB3 with very little upside, even in a good matchup. And Sanders is like an RB4 desperation play, I guess. None of these guys are very inspiring um, for the Panthers, pretty much outside of Adam Thielen. Um, I guess Cole Kmet is fine as a fill-in if you have Travis Kelce or Dallas Goedert. Who else is on bye this week? Dolphins and the Rams. So like you're not rostering players from those teams, at least at tight end anyway. So if you've got Kelce and you've got Goddard, and you're looking for a pivot, I guess Kmet is fine as a Hail Mary. Um, he did, he did decently last week. Although Carolina is giving up. If there's one thing that Carolina has been decent against, it's been tight ends. But if you've got Kelce or Goddard and you're staring at the waiver wire or you're staring at the available options to you, and you conclude that Kmet is your best dart throw, I guess that's fine. He's on the low end tight end one border, and that's about as hopeful as we can be with Cole Kmet. It's not a good matchup, though. I would probably look for some softer matchups and hope for the best. And then, I don't know, Jonathan Mingo is another desperation play. I wouldn't be firing him up. So that's a very quick, I guess, roundup of Thursday Night Football tonight. Got to be the most uninspiring game of the Thursday night schedule thus far. And I wouldn't blame anybody if you outright just skip the game. Not too many exciting prospects tonight. Adam Thielen is a low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2. DJ Moore is a wide receiver 2 tonight with some volume. Donta Foreman is a high-end RB3 with RB2-ish upside because of the good matchup. And that's about where it stops for me from a fantasy perspective. Nobody else should be considered unless you think that Cole Kmet is a decent enough dart throw and you have either Kelce or Goddard on bye. So that's pretty much it. This game is going to put me to sleep. That being said, we can go through start-sit questions if you have them. If you have trade questions, we can go through them. I can also do a real quick injury roundup as far as what we're looking at going into the weekend now that we've got 2 days worth of practices to work with as far as updates. The big one, of course, being Justin Jefferson. His practice window has been opened. He has gone on record saying he doesn't want to return until he's 100%. So it seems unlikely that he's going to play this week. I can't imagine he's 100% at this moment in time. The vibes have not, it's not like, and this dates back to when he was originally placed on injured reserve. It was cloudy about his availability after this 4-game stretch of having to be on IR. It wasn't like a definitive, Justin Jefferson's definitely going to be back after 4 weeks, but he needs these 4 weeks, hence we're putting him on IR. The vibes have been Justin Jefferson's going on IR, and then after that, we'll go from there. We'll see. So it doesn't sound like he's going to suit up for the Vikings week 10. However, the Vikings have breathed some life. Even though they lost Kirk Cousins for the season, they've won four in a row, so they've breathed some life into this season for whatever it's worth. They traded for Josh Dobbs, so they're clearly trying. They're going to try to grab one of those wild card spots. They're not going to catch the Lions for the division. I have a hard time believing that happens, but this looks good for Jefferson's prospects rest of season. I honestly still wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see him until after the bye week, which is week 13. Um, Maybe we see him week 12 if he's feeling better after this week. But if he's going to sit out week 10, now you're only talking about a 2-week stretch before the bye week where we could potentially see Jefferson, and he would have to be at 100%, presumably, for us to see him before then. So that continues to be a wait and see mode. I would not expect having him back this week. Jamar Chase was limited in practice today for the Bengals, but T. Higgins missed after presumably picking up an injury in practice yesterday. So Chase is going, I guess, in the right direction. Higgins is going in the wrong direction. And Burrow takes a slight hit if it's any combination of Chase is limited or Higgins can't go on Sunday. Khalil Herbert's officially been ruled out tonight. So again, Donta Foreman is on the high-end RB3. It probably more like RB2 range because he's at home and because of the matchup. It's also a revenge game for Donta Foreman. He played for the Panthers last year. So maybe go ahead and fire up Donta Foreman if you are feeling frisky. David Montgomery fully practiced today. Great sign for his potential availability this week. That would cap Jahmyr Gibbs, of course. So just keep an eye on that. Drake London returned to practice today, so it could just be a 1-week absence for London. He should be available in a beatable matchup against Arizona. It's a beatable matchup because London is good. What holds him back is the offense and the head coach in Atlanta. And I did just see Rap Sheets update that Higgins is unlikely to play week 10. I guess this hamstring injury that he picked up is already being serious enough to consider him unlikely to go week 10. So that sucks for Higgins. Higgins' subpar season continues. It's not a good development for him or the Bengals offense. Dameon Pierce didn't practice today. Let's prepare for another week of Devin Singletary for the Texans. Nico Collins didn't practice today. That's a disappointing, discouraging sign for Nico Collins. It looked like it could have just been a maintenance day for him on Wednesday. As it turns out, it looks like it's going to potentially be a missed game for Nico Collins. So fire up Tank Dell if you have him. If he's still available in any leagues, you might want to give Tank Dell a look if you're looking for some wide receiver help, especially if you've got somebody like T. Higgins, who is already looking like he's not going to be able to go. And if Nico Collins can't play, missing two days of practice is certainly not a good sign for his availability. That looks promising for Tank Dell's opportunity in Cincinnati. Could have been a chance for some real fireworks in that game, but these wide receivers missing the game absolutely puts a damper on that a little bit. And then James Conner is limited in practice today. He's close to returning from injured reserve in conjunction with Kyler Murray going to play for the Cardinals. It's looking like their offense actually is getting a boost here in the stretch run to the fantasy playoffs. So if you held on James Conner or if you bought low at the time of the injury, nicely done. Conner has been an RB1 when given the usage and the opportunities, and Kyler coming back only helps that. I don't know what the Cardinals' ultimate plan is or ultimate goal is for this season, but Kyler Murray coming back boosts their prospects for wins in 2023. And boosts the offense in general. Marquise Brown gets a boost. Trey McBride gets a boost. I guess whatever Michael Wilson can give you in deeper leagues, that gives him a boost. But primarily it's for James Conner, Marquise Brown, and I guess at this point, Trey McBride. So that's a quick look at some of the injury updates for this week. So if you've got any of those players, or if you're looking at picking up any players who could be asked to do more in the absence of some of those players, whether it's Tank Dell, Tyler Boyd could be in line for a decent amount of work if Higgins can't go. Devin Singletary in the Houston backfield. I think those are the major players here as far as who could potentially step up in the absence of some of the guys who have not been practicing to start this week. So with that, we can kick this thing off. And I can go ahead and start asking or answering questions. Whether you guys are new or you've been around the block, you've been here before. Just as a reminder, I do go to my members first. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. You will jump the line and get your questions asked ahead of everybody else. If you are feeling generous enough to offer a super, you don't have to, but that will be another way to jump the line. And I will get to everybody else shortly after that. You don't have to subscribe to a membership if you don't want to, or you don't have to offer a super if you don't want to. But if you do appreciate the dialogue, if you do enjoy the engagement, the conversation in general, I would just ask that you like the stream. That helps for algorithm purposes. Appreciate it. So let's get into it. Crumply heads. We talked about that Laporta trade earlier in Discord. Also, if you're not in Discord and you would like to join us over there, that is an evergreen link in the second link in the description of this stream and all of the videos and streams on this channel. Free invite. Again, another perk of being a member is a little bit more added attention and analysis to the questions, like the trade that Crumply Heads posted in the Discord earlier today. Yeah, I mean, we debated about it. It's Laporta for Justin Fields and Pat Fryermuth in a Superflex Dynasty League. No tight end premium. There were feelings for both sides. I personally like the Laporta side, even though it's not tight end premium, just because of the volatility of the two positions. And Laporta feels like the safest, at least right now. That could change, of course, at any given moment. And with Dynasty, it makes it a little difficult to project these type of things, not just for this season, but moving forward in general, years to come. Laporta feels like the safest investment of those three. Fields and Fryermuth, though, are it's nice value. It's a nice combination, and certainly in Superflex Fields, there's a little added boost there. I just worry about Fields' long-term prospects, man. I've been a big Justin Fields guy. I have been a fan of his since he entered the draft a few years ago. Since seeing him light it up in the college football playoff in his final year at Ohio State, I have significant concerns about him moving forward. He just hasn't shown a whole lot of growth and development as a passer so far, and he's still taking a really long time to get the ball out, which has led to a lot of sacks, which are his fault. So I'm concerned about Fields. Nevertheless, the rushing upside is something that deserves serious conversation and consideration if you're trying to acquire him in Dynasty. I feel like Laporta is the safest asset there, and that's probably where I would go. But spirited debate to be had there for sure. So let me know if you're feeling any other one way or another about that, Crumply Head, since we had that discussion. Greg, what's going on? You need two wide receivers and a flex. So I just went over. Nico's looking like he's not going to play. I guess Dalton Schultz is another guy that could see added action if Nico's not going to play. But Nico's missed Wednesday and Thursday practice. We need to see him get in at least a limited session tomorrow. But tentatively, Garrett Wilson, the Jets get the Raiders. Nothing scary about that. I would continue to fire up Garrett Wilson. You have to fire up Debo. And I would flex Ken Walker. The Seahawks get Washington at home, who just traded their two best defensive linemen. Nothing scary about that matchup, and that's a bounce back. That's a get-right game for Seattle at home. They got bludgeoned last week against the Ravens. You would think they'd bounce back in a big way. At home against a conference opponent, I would think, as long as Walker plays, and I know that Zach Charbonnet has been getting mixed in a little bit more, but Walker remains the guy. He didn't practice Wednesday. Did he practice today? I need to see if Kenneth Walker practiced today. I haven't seen anything. Let me get a double check on Walker, because Sleeper doesn't have a recent update. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything yet. So we need to see an update on Ken Walker, Greg. But if Walker is playing, you probably need to fire him up. If the vibes are bad, if it's like, oh, he's limited because of the injury, Charbonnet is going to get more involved there. then you probably want to go Wilson, Debo, Cooper. But we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to take the weekend and see what the latest is about Kenneth Walker's availability. I haven't seen anything recent today. I haven't seen anything today. Um, as far as Lawrence versus Derek Carr, I am not playing that game. I am starting Trevor Lawrence. He's at home coming off a bye week. I don't care that it's the 49ers. This is a big game. It's a big game for Jacksonville. This is a good opportunity for this team. He's got his full complement of weapons, I believe. I thought I saw, did Zay Jones return to practice? I thought I saw that he did. Zay Jones is practicing again. Limited sessions today and yesterday. So maybe that's not a great sign for Christian Kirk, but it's a good sign for Trevor Lawrence. I'm playing Lawrence at home in this matchup, and I'm not overthinking this. Here's what it comes down to. Trevor Lawrence is good, and Derek Carr is not. That's pretty much it. I'm playing Trevor Lawrence, and I'm not thinking twice about it. So, no, Carr is not safer than Trevor Lawrence. For me, Trevor Lawrence is safer than Derek Carr, and you start Trevor Lawrence. You start the better player. Those are all of the member questions I see so far. Rojo, appreciate the encouragement. Yes, if you could just like the stream, if you are enjoying the engagement and the conversation, that helps the algorithm. I will now move back up to the top to start answering questions in the order that I see them. Let's see. Tommy needs a flex in full PPR. Um, between Chuba, Dubs, Watson, or Taysom Hill. I don't love Chuba tonight. He might be the guy to go here. He might be the dude to go with here just because he's going to get some volume. Um, the Packers have who do the Packers have this week? I'm like blanking hard on it. Oh, they're on the road against the Steelers. Yeah, that's not a great spot. I mean, it's not an unbeatable spot, but Pittsburgh at home is usually pretty tough on defense. So, maybe you keep the Packers wide receivers on the bench until they prove that they can be trusted. This is a bad Packers offense right now. Um, I mean, Christian Watson has done absolutely nothing to garner any type of consideration so far this year, which is unfortunate. He was looking like a real potential breakout guy after the explosion that he had last year. Maybe that was just the Aaron Rodgers effect. And Jordan Love is not playing well either. But I would keep both of those Packers. I would keep both of those Packers wide receivers on the bench. I guess it's between Chuba and Taysom Hill, who is like, and with these tight ends, it's so volatile. You already have Laporta, who you're obviously starting. It's between Hill and Hubbard. I'm inclined to go with a running back, but it's close. Um, but it is a good matchup for Chuba. I'll say Chuba is your boring floor play, and Hill is your, I guess, upside play. I guess I would play Chuba, but I don't love it. It's a good matchup, but that's about as the nicest thing I can say about Chuba Hubbard. Um, he's he's averaging what, under 3 yards a carry the past couple of weeks. He's averaging like 2.5 yards a carry the past couple of weeks. I guess the Bears could help get him going, but I don't feel great about it. But I guess based on volume, I would go with him. As far as Hunt or Charbonnet, I mean, we just got to wait and see what the status is of Kenneth Walker. If Walker is in, I would probably play. I guess I would play Hunt even in a bad matchup. But if Walker needs to sit, or if there's any vibe that he's going to be limited, then you fire up Charbonnet. Um, as far as your tight end, I would probably go Logan Thomas. Between Logan Thomas, Hunter Henry, um, and Cade Otton, I would probably go Thomas here. Um, Washington's going to be throwing a ton for the rest of the season because they gave up. They traded two of their best pieces on defense, and it's likely the teams are not going to have that difficult a time scoring against them, which means the Washington offense is going to have to stay aggressive rest of season. Um, what's the status, I guess, on Curtis Samuel? I don't even know if it matters. Logan Thomas has been pretty involved recently. Samuel's back at practice, but I mean, Thomas has been pretty involved the past few weeks. He's got at least 3 catches, 5 of his past 6 games. He's cleared 40 yards receiving in 4 of those 6 games. I would probably just play Thomas. I would probably play Thomas. Yeah, I'll play Thomas. Should you trade Hopkins for Hollywood Brown? They are in like the same exact tier. Kyler coming back is a boost for Marquise Brown, but at this point, you could argue that Will Levis is a boost over Ryan Tannehill for DeAndre Hopkins. Both are their team's wide receiver 1. The Titans have Treylon Burks, even though he can't seem to stay in the lineup. He can't seem to stay healthy. I don't think he's playing this week. And then the Cardinals have Rondale Moore and Michael Wilson as the wide receiver 2 for them on I guess on some type of alternate basis. Hopkins should continue to see a lot of volume from Levis. Kyler is the more experienced and accomplished quarterback than Levis, so that should help Hollywood Brown. Honestly, it feels like a toss-up. Hopkins is older. Hollywood has a strain of he's got a little bit more of an injury history, although Hopkins being older, he's had some injury issues as well. I truly think that's a coin flip. I would say that's a true coin flip. And I guess I would say if I had to guess the quarterback who is more likely to finish the season between now and the rest of it, it's Levis. Like the Cardinals are playing Kyler in a potential showcase to trade him. And, who's to say that after the next 6 weeks, they're satisfied with what they see and they're just like, all right, Kyler just picked up this random toenail injury and he needs to sit the last couple of games to make sure that he's right for next season, like some phantom fake injury. Like Kyler's hair hurts. He needs to go home and play Call of Duty for a little while, but he played great these past 6 weeks and, we're going to get him right for next season. I'm just painting a random picture. Levis is going to play. Levis is going to play because the Titans, he is the guy that the Titans want to get a look at for the rest of the season and presumably start coming into 2024. So I guess if I had to take this coin flip and give one, if I had to lean one way over the other, I guess I would say Hopkins. So ultimately, I might as well just keep what I have. I think they're both in the same tier. They're neck and neck. I wouldn't say Hopkins' rest of season is ahead of Hollywood Brown by any tier or vice versa. So I guess I would say I would keep Hopkins. Now, start Howell or Kyler. Kyler's the fun upside play here. But I would probably go Howell because it's Kyler's first game back. I'm always unless it's a dude where it's like if it was Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts and or Mahomes and they missed like 4 weeks or 6 weeks, they missed an extended period of time, but they're coming back. That's a little different. Now you're talking about the cream of the crop. You're talking about the best players, and you just have to play your best players. Kyler, at the top of his game, has been one of the elite fantasy quarterbacks since he entered the league. But we haven't seen that for 10 months. I mean, it's a little unfair to consider, to count the off season here, but we haven't seen Kyler since like week 14 or 15 of last year. It's been a long time, and this is not a good Cardinals team. He elevates them to being better than they, otherwise would be. But I think I would take a little bit more of a cautious approach with Kyler for just 1 week and fire up Howell. The positive for Howell for the rest of the season. And he's been a top 10 quarterback, Howell has, 4 of the past 5 weeks. Now it's a tough matchup going up against Seattle. Seattle's got good cornerbacks that should be able to handle Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, all of that. But Howell has been a top 10 quarterback, including in a tougher matchup, having to play a Belichick defense last week. He did okay. Howell did all right. I'll say Howell is your safe play. Kyler is all upside, but his floor is lower. In his first game back, his floor is lower. We just don't know how much he's going to run. It's his first game back from a torn ACL. We just don't know how much he's going to run. So he's much more volatile, and Howell is a little bit safer. Howell's a little bit safer. But let's see how they do on the road against the Bills. I guess if Bass is out there, I would grab him. I would just grab Bass. He's been better this year as well. He was tough to trust last year because, the Bills' offense was they were a little bit more aggressive going forward on fourth down. They're kicking field goals a little bit more frequently this year. So I'd probably just go Bass. Take the dude attached to the good offense. Let's see. You're 9-0. Nice. Why can't you put I guess your IR spot? If you either don't have an IR spot or they're all full from other players. That's why Herbert's not on, unless they didn't activate him off IR, did they? Why would they do that if he's not going to play tonight? Did they activate him off IR? No, they didn't. They didn't. Okay, you either don't have an IR spot or you run out of IR spots. I mean, it's not a threat for you to miss. You're not going to miss the playoffs if you've started 9 up, 9 down. So Spears will give you points. It'll be maybe 5 to 7 of them, but he will give you a play. Obviously, Herbert's going to give you a 0. I'm always of the mindset where if you don't have to do anything drastic, I mean, pick up the player. Pick up the player who's going to play. Get yourself points. If you're undefeated and coasting to the playoffs at this point, and you're just worried about finalizing your playoff roster, that's fine. But are you assured of a bye week? Like, is there an 8-1 team? Is there a 7-2 team? And like several 6-3 teams that could conceivably catch you? I don't want to look too far down the road in these scenarios. That's how you get hurt. That's how you potentially burn yourself. So, I mean, I'm of the mindset where, play for the points if you can. But if you have to keep Khalil Herbert on your active roster, I guess I'd rather have him than Spears. I guess you're fine to do nothing if you're just looking to finalize your playoff roster. But I mean, it depends about all the other teams behind you. And yeah, I thought Herbert. Yeah, Herbert's still on IR. So if you can't IR him, then I don't know. I have 3 injured reserve spots in all of the leagues that I commission, keeper, dynasty, whatever. I have a minimum of 3 IR spots. One is not enough with the number of injuries we constantly see these days. Um, so I don't know. That sounds like a conversation to have with your commish at the end of the season. More IR spots. I always make sure that there's a minimum of 3. There's too many damn injuries these days. Trade Tank Dell for Hollywood Brown. And your thought process here is you have Kyler. Um, yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I like Tank Dell quite a bit, and he's on the rise rest of season. But Hollywood Brown is the more accomplished player and the clear wide receiver one of his team. And last year, before Kyler's injury, and remember, DeAndre Hopkins was on the Arizona Cardinals last year. He served a 6-game suspension to start the season. In those 6 games where Kyler was throwing to Hollywood Brown as his wide receiver one, Hollywood Brown was a top 10 wide receiver. He was top 10. So, yeah, I would trade Tank Dell to acquire Hollywood Brown. Now, I said earlier, I don't think I would trade DeAndre Hopkins for him because ultimately Hopkins is also his team's wide receiver one, and he's closer enough to Hollywood where I think I would rather keep DeAndre Hopkins because I'm confident that DeAndre Hopkins quarterback is going to play rest of season in Will Levis. But Hollywood is a big enough upgrade over Tank Dell for me where I would be willing to run the risk of Kyler potentially not playing the last few weeks of the season um, to get Hollywood Brown over Tank Dell now. So, yeah, I'm good with that trade. I'm good with sending Tank Dell for Hollywood Brown. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that plan. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that trade. Just keep in mind, Tank Dell might be his team's wide receiver one this week if Nico Collins can't go. That being said, I would still want Hollywood Brown for the long haul. Let's see. Any changes to this starting lineup? McCaffrey, Hall, you're keeping them in. Kirk, Wilson, Engram, Pittman, Kincaid. Um, you probably want to get Gus Edwards in there. Gus Edwards has been on absolute fire recently. Um, Ravens have the Browns, so that's the one concern there. Um, but I would consider putting Edwards in over Evan Ingram. Zay Jones is back, or presumably he's going to be back. So while it's a tough matchup for Edwards against the Browns, it's a tough matchup for Ingram against the 49ers as well. Plus, Zay Jones is going to be back in the mix. So targets are going to be taken away. I think I would find a way to get. I would probably swap Gus Edwards in over Evan Ingram because you already have You're starting Kincaid for sure. Um, I might play Edwards over Ingram. Well, actually, oh, I forgot. I missed James Cook. I mean, is it full PPR? It is full PPR. You know what? James Cook gets the Broncos at home. I know James Cook has been up and down. This feels like a matchup that he can take advantage of. This feels like a matchup that James Cook can take advantage of. Scratch Gus Edwards. I would play James Cook over Evan Ingram in your flex. Yes, I would swap James Cook in in place of Evan Ingram. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. Yep. Rest of the lineup looks good, but I would swap James Cook in for Evan Ingram. Yep. Agreed about how. Yeah. Trading Tank Dell and getting Marquise Brown. I'm good with that. I like that plan. Start Donta Foreman tonight. Yes. If you're dealing with other less than ideal options, and you have both Walker and Charbonnet, so you could kind of wait on that one, but we're uncomfortable about it because, well, I haven't seen any update about whether Walker practiced today. If anybody sees anything about Seattle's practice report, let me go on their Twitter page and see if they have anything recently. If you've got Walker and Charbonnet, you're worried about that situation, and you don't like the rest. Why is their Twitter page not coming back for me? What is going on? Oh, there they are. Weird. I don't see a practice report from them. Come on, Seattle. What are we doing over here? Yes, I would play Donta Foreman tonight. Khalil Herbert's not back yet, and it's a great matchup. He's on the RB2 roadmap. If you don't like your other options and you want to wait and see what happens with that Seattle backfield, yes, I would start Donta Foreman tonight. Just put him in an RB spot. I know some of y'all already know this spiel. Put your Thursday night football players in a position spot. Leave that flex open for later in the week. Maximize your flexibility. So, yes, put Donta Foreman in a running back spot. And you can move guys around as needed. Lends even more credence to your situation. Keep that flex spot open. Your next best option might, if you don't want to play Walker or Charbonnet, your next best option might be a wide receiver. So put Foreman in a running back spot. If you know you're playing a guy on Thursday night, put him in a position spot. Always, 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 always. You tried to acquire T. Higgins and it got rejected. Well, don't try to acquire him now. All you got to do is, send a little LOL response, a little LOL response, and keep it moving. Of course, you want to sell it. Of course, everybody wants to sell an injured player. That's easy. Nah, forget it. Keep it moving. Higgins' frustrating season continues. Komet or Ferguson in full PPR. The Cowboys have the Giants, and the Bears are playing tonight. That's close. Komet had a nice game last week. 6 for 55 and 2 touchdowns. The week prior to that, he had 10 catches for 79 yards. Ferguson also caught a touchdown last week, 7 for 91, and he caught a touchdown the week prior, 4 for 47, and he gets a beatable Giants secondary or linebacker crew on Sunday. I think I would lean Ferguson, and Komet has been good. Komet's been good the past couple of weeks. He's got 17 catches the past 2 weeks. 16 catches, over the past 2 games. 55 receiving yards last week and 2 scores, and then 10 for 79 in week 8. I guess, you're talking about two. It's very up in the it's up in the air. You're talking about 2 guys that are neck and neck as far as what we expect from them. On one hand, you've got a short week for Komet. On the other hand, there's a potential blowout brewing between the Cowboys and the Giants. The Cowboys will probably throttle the Giants. They did so in week 1. Now they're at home, and the Giants don't even have Daniel Jones. They're starting Danny DeVito at quarterback. The Giants are. So I don't love that situation for the Giants as far as keeping that game competitive. I guess I would ultimately go Ferguson because by the numbers, I'm pretty sure the Panthers have been somewhat stingy against opposing tight ends for whatever that's worth. And the Giants have been a little bit more giving. Let me just double check what the most recent in the last 4 weeks, the Panthers are giving up the second fewest points to opposing tight ends. And actually, the Giants have been pretty good. They're giving up the 5th fewest points to opposing tight ends over the past few weeks. I'll give the slight nod to Ferguson. He's got the better quarterback. And believe it or not, according to Graham Barfield of Fantasy Points, Ferguson is second on the Cowboys in first reads behind CeeDee Lamb. He's the first target on 17% of Dak Prescott's throws. It's not bad. I'll give the slight nod to Ferguson, but it's close. Greg, I got your kicker question. I would just go Tyler Bass. Drop Baker or Love. Love. At least Baker's got 2 really good wide receivers to throw the ball to. Or at least they are easily a better collection than Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. And I guess for whatever it's worth, Baker's playing a little bit better than Jordan Love. Love is the drop. I mean, Love is teetering on falling outside of like the top, like rest of season quarterback rankings. Love is teetering on falling out of the top 24. He has been bad. Like, I'd rather have Sam Howell rest of season than Jordan Love. I'd rather have Will Levis rest of season than Jordan Love. I might rather have like Gardner Minshew rest of season over Jordan Love. And then I would rather have Baker. I'd rather have Baker rest of season than Jordan Love. Love is the drop. Love is the drop. He's just not playing well. He's not playing well. Baker's not great, but he's got better weapons to throw to than Love. And while I love Aaron Jones, he's the more accomplished and better running back than Rachaad White. Both are solid pass catching options. But today, right now, Rachaad White is safer than Aaron Jones because Aaron Jones is on the injury report. He's shaken it recently, but Rachaad White is healthy. Aaron Jones is still logging just limited practices. It's probably they're just monitoring his reps, but he's not 100% healthy, at least as far as we know. Rachaad White is closer to 100% than Aaron Jones is. So, yeah, Baker's collection of talent is better, more reliable than Jordan Love, and Baker himself is playing better than Jordan Love. So, yeah, Love is the drop. Start Montgomery or Pollard. You can only play one of these two guys. I mean, in his first game back, a little tough to trust Montgomery, even though it's a great matchup. I guess I would start Pollard. I mean, it has not been good, but the Giants are a train wreck. Pollard had a quiet overall production output week 1 against the Giants just because they blew them out, but he scored 2 cheap touchdowns. That's all that matters to turn in an RB1 performance any given week. Um, he's getting all of the work. It's a get right spot for the Cowboys after they lost last week to the Eagles. Um, and for Montgomery, it's his first game back. Jahmyr Gibbs has been on a heater recently. I think we need to wait and see how that backfield shakes out. I guess I would go Pollard. If I only start one, I guess I would go Pollard. He is frustrating, though, this year. Justin Fields has officially been ruled out, courtesy of Matt Eberflus. Matt Eber doofus. Fields is officially ruled out, so it's going to be Bagent for one more week. If Zay plays, would I rather flex Zay Jones or Robert Woods? Probably. Well, what's Woods' status? He missed last week. I know that. He returned to a limited practice on Thursday. I mean, we haven't seen Robert Woods since the bye week, but Woods had been. I mean, he's not doing a ton. He had been involved prior to missing a couple of weeks. Zay Jones was like a little bit better. I think you got to go Zay. If these are your options, I would go Zay Jones. I would go Zay Jones. He's just it's a very limited sample size. Woods played through the first 6 weeks and he contributed, but he didn't have any big games. He had one double-digit half PPR output, but for the most part he was doing like 3 catches for 30 yards type stuff. Now, also since then, CJ Stroud has been playing a lot better, and without Nico Collins, Woods would conceivably see more work. I guess I would say if Zay is in, it probably comes down a little bit more to, is Nico Collins out for Houston? If Collins is ruled out, you might want to go Robert Woods. But if Collins is able to return to the practice field tomorrow, even in a limited capacity, which would put him on track to play, then I would play Zay Jones. It's a small sample size, but Zay Jones has been better than Robert Woods this year on a per game basis anyway. So it depends on the status of Nico Collins and then how confident you might be firing up Robert Woods in the event that Collins can't go. All right. We got a couple of questions here. Defense, start the Ravens against the Browns or the Jets against the Raiders? Two intriguing options. The Ravens have been awesome. They host Cleveland. The Jets defense is fighting for its life because the offense is so inept, but they've been really good. They get the Raiders, who seemingly have found new life after they fired Josh McDaniels. Although the Giants will make anybody feel good about themselves for at least 1 week. The Ravens are in the safer spot here, despite the tougher matchup against Cleveland. And they're at home. And they've been good in their home games this year. The Ravens have. 5 sacks week 1 against Houston. 5 sacks week 3 against Indianapolis. I'm reading some of the stats from the Ravens home games this year. 5 sacks against the Detroit Lions and their good offensive line at home. And then last week, 4 sacks. They've got at least 4 sacks in every home game this year. They had a fumble recovery and an interception last week. Against Detroit, they had 2 forced fumbles. They didn't recover them, but they did force the Lions to put the ball on the ground and an interception. And they have at least, and they had a fumble recovery against Houston in week 1. In the Ravens home games this year, they've got at least 4 sacks in every game, and they have at least 1 turnover in each game. Well, they have exactly 1 turnover. No, they had 2 against Arizona, but that was on the road. They've got 1 turnover in each home game, and they've got at least 4 sacks. I would just play it safe and play the Ravens. Judy against the Bills, Smith and Jigba against the Commanders, or Demario Douglas in Germany against the Colts. Smith and Jigba's interesting. He's been coming on even last week, scored a touchdown with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, fully involved and healthy. Judy gets the Bills. That's a beatable matchup. Smith and Jigba's presumably on the rise. And Demario Douglas has like an opportunity from a volume perspective. Judy was on bye last week. He had 2 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown week 8. 5 catches for 64 yards week 7. He didn't do anything week 6 on a short week against Kansas City. 6 for 50, 3 for 50, 5 for 80 dating back to week 3. As for Smith and Jigba, who did not practice yesterday, and again, we still don't have a practice report from the Seahawks for today. I don't know what they're doing. Last week, 6 for 63, 3 for 36 and a touchdown in week 8, 4 for 63 and a touchdown week 7. That was a game that I believe Metcalf missed. He might have missed week 8. Or no, did he miss week 7? I think he missed week 7. That's what it was. DK missed week 7. 4 for 63 for a touchdown, and then 4 for 48 week 6 against Cincinnati. Nothing scary about the matchup against Washington. I'll say Judy is your safe play, and Smith and Jigba is your upside play if you think you need to shoot and be a little bit more aggressive. And I'd see your note now. You need high upside ceiling players this week. Oh, man. The aggressive play, might be Smith and Jigba. The question is, how many points is Seattle going to need to beat Washington? Whereas the Broncos are going to need to be aggressive on the road against Buffalo, and they're probably going to have to throw a ton. Smith and Jigba might be your aggressive play here. That might be your aggressive play here. If you're looking for playing aggressive, it might be Smith and Jigba. He's been pretty good the past few weeks, and that includes games where both Lockett and Metcalf suited up, not just the game against Arizona where Metcalf didn't play. The very next week, with both Metcalf and Lockett in the lineup, Smith and Jigba caught a touchdown. You might want to go Smith and Jigba. Okay, and okay. I thought you might have had a third question there, but it was just you need the ceiling play. I would go the Ravens at home against the Browns, and I would go, if you're trying to play aggressive, let's keep an eye on the practice reports because Smith and Jigba didn't practice yesterday. Seattle still hasn't released they still haven't released a practice report from today, so we got to keep an eye on that. But if Smith and Jigba is returned to practice and he's fine, he's good to go, I might play him as your aggressive play. Might go Smith and Jigba. What's going on, Iron? Good to see you, man. Najee, Gus, or Madison this week? Oof. Madison is what? At home against the Saints. Gus is at home against the Browns. That's a tough spot. Najee is at home against the Packers. Probably Madison because Cam Akers is out. Najee's been a little bit better recently, right? It's just very hard to trust him. 16 for 69 and a score last week. But Jacksonville, he was not good. I'll say Madison. I'll say Madison because Cam Akers is done for the season. So they have to go back to feeding him. And at home, you figure he's going to get a ton of work. I would go Madison. Do I like Komet tonight in DFS? Sure. Yeah. 16 catches the past couple of weeks. Yeah. I mean, he should be fine. The Panthers are stingy against opposing tight ends. That's the only concern. They've actually allowed the second fewest points against the tight end position for the past month. And on the season, they've been pretty good in general. But Komet, there should be some volume there for Komet. Again, 16 catches the past 2 weeks. He should be okay. Keep in mind the line tonight is 38. Vegas is not expecting a ton of points to be scored in this game. So there is some downside. There is some downside. So I would go Madison and Komet. He should be okay with some volume, but it's not a great matchup by the numbers. No IR spots, Lex. Yeah, so that's a conversation you got to have with your league mates and your commissioner after the season. You need to add some IR spots, at least 2. I would argue for 3. And all you have to say is, just look at the number of injuries. Number of people who have lost, who get lost for multiple weeks. Like the person who had the person in your league who has Justin Jefferson had to sandbag a roster spot for 4 weeks. You had to do it with Khalil Herbert. Devon Achane, whoever has him, if he wasn't dropped outright, I mean, you had to sandbag him for 4 weeks, and that's a roster spot that you had to eat. James Conner, I could keep going. Kyron Williams. How much time y'all got? I mean, you need IR spots. You cannot, this is for everybody. You cannot play fantasy football in 2023 without IR spots. Multiple. 1 is not enough. You need 2. And again, I commissioned multiple leagues. We have 3. You got to have IR spots. Got to have IR spots. That's everybody. Every league. You got to have if you don't, like, one of the first order of business the second the fantasy season ends this year, if you don't have IR spots, get them implemented. Talk to your commish. We need IR spots. There's no reason not to have them. There's no legitimate argument not to have them. None whatsoever. You got to have IR spots. Let's see. Where are we at? And J-Dog, you're welcome. Thanks for coming in and hanging out. 10-man PPR. You're 3 and 6. That's your record. Okay. Start two. You need 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. Well, you're starting Taylor. You're starting Eckler. And I guess I would start Pollard. You would start those 3 running. You would start, you would start. Aaron Jones is on the road against Pittsburgh, so that's a bit of a tougher spot. And as much as I love Aaron Jones, I guess since you can only start 3 of these guys, Taylor, Pollard, Eckler is where I would go with your 2 running backs and a flex. And your 2 wide receivers are, well, T. Higgins is not expected to play. Jamar Chase returned to practice in a limited fashion. You have no choice. Even if Jamar Chase is limited, you have to play him. You have no choice. You have to play Jamar Chase, and then I would play Godwin. If Chase can't go, then you play Godwin and Smith and Jigba. Higgins is not on the radar because it sounds like he's not expected to play. He missed practice today. Taylor, Pollard, Eckler, and then Chase if he plays. Chase and Godwin if Chase plays. Godwin and Smith and Jigba if Chase doesn't play. And Iron, as far if will Walker play this week, we don't know. I haven't seen a practice report from Seattle today. I don't know what the situation is. I don't know what his status is. But of course, if he's out, then Charbonnet has RB1 upside against Washington, who they just traded all their defensive line depth. Yes, Charbonnet would be on the RB1 roadmap if Walker can't play. But I haven't seen an update about Seattle's practice report today, so I'm not sure yet. Adams, Ridley, Sutton, pick one in full PPR. So Adams has been very meh this recently, and he's gonna have to face Sauce Gardner. Ridley gets the 49ers, and Sutton is on the road against Buffalo. Jesus. Ridley, I guess. 49ers are gonna have to throw. The Jets are so good at taking opposing wide receivers away. Ridley, I guess. Only because we're in free fall mode with Devontae Adams right now. At least Ridley has Trevor Lawrence throwing him the ball. I guess I would go Ridley. It sucks for Devontae Adams. He deserves better than this. But he's impossible to trust right now. Let's see. Bad running back week. Oof. Roshan or Tajay Spears, Keaton Mitchell. Yikes. Roshan is in a great matchup tonight. Spears has been the better player. Keaton Mitchell, I think we need to wait on because he's been limited in practice. And I don't know that I want to. I did put a video out about Keaton Mitchell earlier this week. I think he's worthy of being on rosters, but I don't think we can start him yet. He blew up in garbage time, and this is a much better defense in Cleveland that he would be facing. I would say Spears. I would probably say Spears. Roshan hasn't been as effective as Donta Foreman this year, much less Khalil Herbert. I would roll the dice with Tajay Spears. Feels like the Titans have new life on offense with Will Levis in the mix, or officially taking snaps. And on the road against Tampa, you figure he's going to get in there for some passing down opportunities. I would play Spears. Oh, no, I would not play Roshan. I would play Spears. Let's see. 2 flex spots. Hopkins is in one. Who should be the second between Tank Dell, Trey McBride, and Smith and Jigba? I guess Tank Dell, especially if Nico Collins can't play. He missed practice again today. Nico did. So if Dell is the Stroud's wide receiver 1, you probably want to fire him up. Smith and Jigba is the better, more talented player. He's just a little more volatile because of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, although he's been better recently, Smith and Jigba. The past 4 weeks, he's been good. I think tentatively, though, if Nico plays, then there's a little bit more of an argument for Smith and Jigba. But if Collins can't go, then I would probably play Tank Dell. Yeah. So it depends on the availability of Nico Collins. Depends on Nico. Hunter Charbonnet, yeah. So if Walker sits, Charbonnet. If Walker plays, and we got to see the practice reports, we got to see we got to see the injury reports, then I would go with Hunt, even in a tougher matchup against Baltimore. But we got to see the practice reports from the Seahawks. We haven't seen that yet today from them. If Walker can't go, or if the vibes are bad, then Charbonnet. But we got to wait. We got to wait and see. And then between Russ and Kyler, again, I'm leading with I'm leading with some caution with Kyler Murray because it's his first game back from a torn ACL, and it's just hard to envision him running a ton on Sunday. He might, but that could also be something that we have to wait on with Kyler as he kind of works his way back into game shape. Kyler is an upside play, but his floor is low in his first game back. Russ is going to have to throw the ball a ton on the road against Buffalo. Volume is in Russ's favor. A healthy Kyler, the answer is Kyler, but it's his first game back from a torn ACL he suffered 10 months ago. I would be erring on the side of caution with Kyler, at least in his first game back. I would go Russ. So the Hunter Charbonnet, we got to wait on Ken Walker and his availability, and I would go Russ over Kyler. It's close-ish, but because Kyler is maybe going to be a little conservative with running the ball, I'll play Russ in a game where he's going to have to throw the ball a lot against the Bills on the road. I guess that's a Monday night game. Is there any snow concern in Buffalo this week? Because Buffalo starts getting snow by October. It's a 10-day forecast. It's going to be cold, but there's no precipitation in the air. All right, that's good. Yeah, Russ over Kyler. Iron got you already. And yep, let's keep an eye on whatever Seattle drops their injury report for today. And we'll go from there. Yeah, okay, so you've been sandbagging Khalil NH. Yeah, you guys, you got to have IR spots in your leagues. At least 2. 1 is not enough. That's that's not fun. That's not a fun way to play. And you're not I know everybody in your league is dealing with it. If there's no IR spots for anybody, then everybody's dealing with it. How is that fun? You got to be able to IR your injured players, the dudes who are actually on IR. So you can't even there's not even an IR spot for guys who are ruled out for one game. You got to say, so if somebody has Justin Fields, you've had to sandbag that for 4 straight weeks and wait for a player to be ruled out. That's no fun. Nah. Job number 1 for anybody who plays in a league without IR spots is the day that the season ends this year is to talk to your commissioner and your league and get IR spots for next year, for 2024. You need at least 2. When I was, I don't even put it up for debate. I'm just, as commish, I'm just like, we have 3 IR spots. If you don't like it, I don't care. I don't leave this up for debate. You need IR spots. Sorry, my allergies are bothering me a little bit tonight. Yeah, you got to have IR. Astro, I'm not worried about, you're talking about, it's two players on the same team. It's 2 players in a good offense. James Cook and Dalton Kincaid should be in your lineup. Yes. I don't worry about that stuff because it's not worth worrying about. Good players on good offenses are players that I want in my lineup. Last week, I started in one league. I started Diggs, Gabe Davis, and Dalton Kincaid. I started 3 dudes. Now, Davis got goose egged, but Diggs did fine and Kincaid did fine. So I was like, I'll call it a win. Give me good players in good teams on good offenses with good quarterbacks. The Bills check those boxes. Yeah, I'm not worried about multiple players on the same team. 2 wide receivers and a flex. Adams, Deontay, Ridley, Walker, Jones, and Kincaid. Deontay Johnson, he's been awesome since he came back from the injury. I would go Ridley over Devontae Adams. You have Mike Evans. I see that now just at the bottom. I guess I would go Mike Evans over Ridley. I would go Deontay and Mike Evans. Evans is at home against the Tennessee Titans. That's a great matchup. Deontay Johnson, Mike Evans are your 2 receivers. And I would put Aaron Jones, I guess, in your flex. I'll take the running back volume. I know Kincaid has been good, but I'll take running back volume over a tight end who admittedly is playing well. Kincaid is on a heater. But I'm always going to lean running backs and the volume that running backs get over a tight end. We're at the point where we got to sit Devontae Adams. Look how the mighty have fallen. It's not his fault. The Raiders are not good on offense. Aiden O'Connell is what he is. Deontay Johnson has been awesome since he returned, so you got to play him. Mike Evans has been really good this year and is in a great matchup, so you got to play him. And I would play Aaron Jones because Kenneth Walker is banged up. You can play Walker if it turns out he returned to practice today and he practices tomorrow. Then you could play Walker. But otherwise, as of right now, I would play Aaron Jones. Deontay, Evans, Jones if Walker is out or limited, Walker if he returns to practice today and tomorrow. So we just got to wait and see on that. Is there any update from the Seahawks? Are they like the last team to like put out their practice report? I see your note that Jada that they wait until like 5:00 yesterday. I mean, I guess there's still time on that. But Pacific time, not Eastern time. It's like, all right, whatever. So yeah, we just gotta wait. Yeah. Start Gabe or Chuba Hubbard in full PPR. I know Gabe goose-egged last week, but I would play Gabe Davis over Chuba Hubbard. Chuba, it's a good matchup for Chuba Hubbard, but Chuba's not that good. Like, sorry. And Miles Sanders is also not that good, but he's in the mix. He got 9 touches last week. Hubbard last week turned 16 carries into 58 yards. It's not good. 4 catches for 9 yards. Like, all right, whatever. And then the week before that, 15 carries for 28 yards. That's abysmal. And 2 catches for 26 yards. That doesn't matter when you only turn 15 carries into 28 rushing yards. Like, Chuba's not that good. I would play Gabe. I would roll the dice on Gabe. Catching passes from Josh Allen at home. I'll take Gabe Davis. I just don't want to play Chuba Hubbard unless I'm desperate. Like, all my running backs are banged up or hurt. I would play Gabe. I would play Gabe at home. He bounces back from the goose egg last week. Should you start Laporta or Kincaid? It sucks that you have to bench one of these dudes, but I'm not sitting Sam Laporta. He's a top 3 option at tight end this week with Kelsey out, and yeah, I guess that's it. He was already over Dallas Goedert. Like you have to play Laporta. They're both really good options, but you have to play Laporta. It's a great matchup. The Chargers are giving up the most points to tight ends the last 4 weeks, and they're a top 6 matchup on the season for opposing tight ends. You have to play Laporta. Although the Broncos have been very favorable to opposing tight ends as well, but the last 4 weeks they haven't been as bad against tight ends as the Chargers have. It's got to be Laporta. It's got to be Laporta. You have to play Sam Laporta. You just have to. DJ Chark is officially inactive, so Alex, go ahead and make your pickup. There you go. What else we got? Should you drop Keaton Mitchell and pick up Charbonnet? I would. I would. I would. I like Keaton Mitchell quite a bit, but Charbonnet is farther along as far as being involved in the offense on a regular basis than Keaton Mitchell is. I would pick up Charbonnet. Even if you don't have to start him this week, I would rather have him on my bench than Keaton Mitchell. 100%. Yeah. If Charbonnet is out there, I would scoop him. Although Keaton Mitchell's role is potentially rising, but right now I'd rather have Charbonnet. Let's see. What else do we have here? Did they release their practice report? I don't see it. Oh, now I do. What? No, wait, no, that's still Wednesday. No, I don't see anything. I don't see anything recent. Unless it like just came down. No, I'm not seeing anything yet. What about their PR team? Nah. Not seeing anything yet. All right, just continue to keep tabs on the Seahawks. NBC Sports has it. Okay. Tyler Lockett was upgraded to full. Smith and Jigba practiced in full. Walker practiced in full. Oh, okay. Lockett. Yeah, Lockett was upgraded to full. Okay, cool. Yeah. Awesome. And I don't see anything about Metcalf either. So, all right, all the Seahawks are practicing in full. So Walker needs to be started this week. Against the Washington Commanders, Kenneth Walker needs to be in lineups. Kenneth Walker needs to be in lineups against the Washington Commanders, who traded Chase Young and Montez Sweat just last week, punting on the season and making it that much easier to move the ball against their defense. Walker needs to be in all lineups. He returned to practice today. Appreciate it, J-Dog. That looks like the wire, so I assume Seahawks Twitter and their beat reporters will be all over this eventually. But if Kenneth Walker is playing, and I do follow one of their guys on Twitter, so let me see if he has anything. Yeah, he does. Back, yep. Kenneth, this was confirmed. Walker full go at practice. They gave DK Metcalf the day off today. It doesn't sound like he's gonna miss time. Smith and Jigba practiced in full. Walker practiced in full. Tyler Lockett practiced in full. Yep. Walker needs to be in all lineups ahead of Sunday against the Commanders. Is Khalil Herbert? Why do I see Herbert active on ESPN? Must be a different Herbert. Not activated for tonight's game. All right, it must be a different Herbert. Okay. Works for me. Let's see. Where are we at? Appreciate it, J-Dog. Thank you for the source over there. I would still pick up Charbonnet. Let's see. What's going on, Theo? You need to start one wide receiver and 2 flex. Metcalf, DJ Moore, Amari Cooper, Ridley, Hollywood. Nico has missed practice 2 straight days, so I'm not loving that spot for him. James Conner returned to practice today, so that's good news. That's a good sign. Metcalf was given, I think, a maintenance day, but you're starting him. If he plays, you're starting Metcalf. Don't like DJ Moore more than Amari Cooper. Jerome Ford has a tough matchup against Baltimore. But I like Ford more than I like. I just worry about DJ Moore tonight, man. I mean, he should be fine. I don't like fine. I don't want to play fine. I would play Metcalf, Amari Cooper, and I would tentatively plan to play Jerome Ford, Theo. So I would keep DJ Moore on your bench tonight. You've got really good options at wide receiver. I would play Metcalf. I would play Cooper. You could play Marquise Brown with Hollywood back. That could be volatile in Kyler's first game back. I would play probably Metcalf. I would plan to play Metcalf, Cooper, and Jerome Ford. If the vibes are good on James Conner, you could swap him in if you want. Conner has been good. Just in general, when healthy, when active, when in the lineup, Conner has been an RB1. Just in general. I would go Metcalf, Cooper, Ford for now, and you could switch to Conner if he's at, I think he's going to be activated. And I would start him. Yeah. I would play, you know what? Yeah, Theo, I would play Metcalf, I would play Cooper, and I would plan actually I'm seeing that it looks like Connor's expected to be activated. I would play Connor. He's less reliant on Kyler Murray than Hollywood Brown is. That's where I would go. Metcalf, Cooper, Connor. Connor's going to start, presumably. And if the vibes are bad on Sunday for whatever reason, you can still have Ford and you're in that second flex. So that's where I would go. All right, Pittsburgh or Buffalo defense. Pittsburgh's at home against the Packers. Buffalo is at home against the Broncos on Monday night. Pittsburgh? Probably Pittsburgh. They're just, every time I think about the Packers, all I can think about is they're not playing well on offense. And the Bills have been a little suspect on defense this year. I would say Pittsburgh rather definitively. They've been good at home. They're playing a bad offense at home. Jordan Love hasn't been good. And Buffalo, even though Denver has been subpar this year, Buffalo's defense has been suspect. They don't have Tre'Davious White. Who'd they lose? Matt Milano at linebacker. So, like, they're missing some pieces. Their run defense is not as good as it was last year. Pittsburgh. I would play the Steelers. I'll play the Steelers defense. They're a top 3 option this week, along with, I guess, the Cowboys against the Giants. And I would say the Raiders again against Zach Wilson and the Jets. That offense is as beatable as it gets. The Ravens are up there as well. They've just been so rock solid at home. All right. We are at the end of the chat. I don't see any other questions. Christian Watson's not a drop, but he certainly can't be started. But I would hang on to him. He's he's a too good individual talent to drop. But it's not looking good right now. I would hang on for a little bit more. We're at the end of the chat. Just as an FYI, I will have a Saturday live stream, 6 p.m. Eastern on Saturday for more start sit help, so we can work through any last minute thoughts prior to the Sunday slate. I will not be streaming Sunday morning. There is one more Germany game between the Colts and the Patriots, so I'll leave that spot open for you guys to watch that game. If you want to ask any questions at Sunday morning, you can join me in Discord. Second link in the description of this live stream. It is an evergreen invite. I can take last-minute questions in there if you're not able to make the Saturday stream, but I will be live on Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern, prior to the Sunday slate. I can take as many questions as you guys need to at that time. But appreciate you guys coming in, hanging out prior to Thursday Night Football. Thank you for the engagement. Thank you for the questions. And appreciate all the likes. That's very kind of you guys. That certainly helps the algorithm. But that'll do it for this evening. Enjoy the game as best as you can. Chuba in your flex, little bro. I don't love either option, but I'll take the running back volume, I guess. But I don't love either spot for either guy. But I guess I'll take the volume in Chuba Hubbard in what should be a decent enough matchup. Appreciate you guys coming in, hanging out. Again, Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern. I can do more start, sit, help as needed. Enjoy the game as best you can. This real barn burner between the Bears and the Panthers. And I will see you guys on Saturday. Thanks, everybody.